Hello learners, I'm Teacher Kat and welcome to this lecture. Today we're going to talk about what is syntactic structure. But first, let's be aware of our learning objectives. By the end of this lecture, you will be able to define syntax and syntactic structure. Second, you will be able to define and differentiate between different types of sentence structure, which are simple, compound, complex, and compound complex. Third, you will be able to identify and explain the different functions of sentence, which are declarative, interrogative, imperative, and exclamatory. I'm expecting that you are going to attain that learning objectives by the end of our discussion. To continue, I have this question. Have you ever wondered how we put words together to form a sentence that actually makes sense? If yes, that's where syntax comes into play. So, what is syntax? Syntax examines how words and phrases are arranged to form grammatically correct sentence. It may also show the relationship between words and phrases. So think of syntax as a set of rules that tells us how to arrange words like a building blocks. It's like a secret codes that help us understand how language works. It's not just about grammar, though grammar is a big part of it, but syntax also help us to figure out the relationship between different parts of sentence. And did you know the word syntax comes from the Greek root word syntaxis, meaning coordination. This stems from the syn meaning together and taxis meaning ordering. That is why when we talk about syntax, we are talking about how we order words to create a meaning. And why is it important? Well, imagine trying to have a conversation where everyone just throw out words randomly. It would be impossible to understand each other, right? That's why a syntax is crucial because it ensures our sentences are correct and understandable. Because the way we arrange words can completely change the meaning of our sentence. Alright, that is why syntax is important, especially in communicating or having conversation. Now, in this lecture, we will focus only on syntactic structure. We'll start by looking at different types of sentence structure and then we'll discuss the function of sentence. Okay? So let's talk about what we mean by syntactic structure. Syntactic structure are the arrangements of words and phrases that make well-formed sentence. To better grasp the structure, you must first study the fundamental aspect of syntax, such as subject, verb, objects, complement, and adverbials. But don't be confused between syntax and syntactic structure. Always remember that syntax is a border concept. It refers to the set of rules that governs how words are combined to form a grammatically correct sentence. While syntactic structure are actually sentences that are built according to those rules. So, get it? Alright. Let's begin by discussing sentence because it will be hard for us to create different types of sentence if we don't know what a sentence is. So, a sentence is a set of words giving a complete thought, typically containing a subject and predicate, conveying a statement, question, exclamation, or command, and consisting of main clause and sometimes one or more subordinate clauses. I hope you are familiar between the two, the subject and the predicate. Don't forget it because it's very important in making a sentence. We also have independent and dependent clauses. The independent clauses or main clause are entire thoughts that can stand on their own. Well, dependent clauses or subordinate clauses are incomplete thoughts that cannot stand on their own. For example, my friend is going to the store because she needs to buy a grocery. The first sentence, my friend is going to a store, is our independent clause because it can stand alone as a complete sentence. In our independent clauses here, we have the subject, which my friend. Well, the predicate is going to the store. And the second sentence is our dependent clause that start with subordinating conjunction because. And I hope we clear now between subject, predicate, and clauses. We will now proceed to the four types of sentence structure, which are simple, compound, complex, and compound complex. First, we have simple sentence. So a simple sentence contains of one independent clause, which means one subject and one verb. For example, I have a dream. This powerful line is a simple sentence. It has a clear subject, which is I, and the main verb, which have. The object of the verb a dream completes the thought within a single clause. And that is a simple sentence, which is contain one independent clause. Now let's proceed to the second one, which is compound sentence. A compound sentence consists of two or more independent clauses
joined by a coordinating conjunction such as and, but, or or.
For example, the sun was shining and the birds were singing. This sentence is a perfect example of a compound sentence. It consists of two independent clauses. The first sentence here is the sun was shining, and the second is the birds were singing. And
It joined by coordinating conjunction
and I hope everything is clear between simple and compound sentence because we will proceed to the next two, which are complex and compound complex sentence. Third one, we have a complex sentence. A complex sentence contains one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. And it also includes at least one subordinating conjunction. For example, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Our first clause there, which is when in Rome, is our dependent clause, introduced by subordinating conjunction when. For the second one, we have do as the Romans do, and that is our independent clause. Now let's proceed to the fourth one, which is compound complex sentence. So a compound complex sentence combines elements of compound and complex. It contains two or more independent clauses and at least one independent clause. For example, while the music played, the guests danced and the laughter filled the room. The first clause there is our dependent clause. And the second clause there is our first independent clause, and it's followed by the second independent clause. Alright, we're done discussing the four sentence structure. And to test your learning, I have this simple exercise. In this exercise, you will be identifying the types of sentence structure of the given sentence. Number one, although the rain was pouring, they continued their journey and eventually they reached their destination. What type of sentence structure is it? Yes, it is compound complex sentence. Now, number two. When the phone rang, she answered it immediately. What do you think this sentence is? Yes, a complex sentence. Now, for the third one. The rain was falling and the wind was howling. What answer fill in your mind?
Yes, a compound sentence.
Thank you for participating and you are truly learning. Now let's go to the four function of sentence. The first function is declarative. The sentence provide information or make a statement. They usually follow the subject-verb-object pattern or the SVO. For example, she read a book. Simply state that the subject she performs the action of reading a book. Now for the second one, we have interrogative. The sentence asks question and typically begin with an auxiliary verb followed by the subject and the main verb. For example, does she read a book? The sentence is asking a question and start with the auxiliary verb does before the subject. Are you still listening? I hope you still follow. Now, let's proceed to the third one, which is imperative. An imperative sentence expresses command or requests and usually begin with a verb followed by the subject. For example, open the window. This sentence is used to tell someone to do something. Another example, turn on the lights, or you should listen carefully. And the last one is exclamatory. The sentence expresses strong emotion such as surprise and excitement and often end with an exclamation mark. For example, wow, that was amazing! The sentence expresses strong admiration or excitement. The interjunction wow immediately conveys the speaker emotion and the exclamation mark further emphasize the intensity. And that's it. We finished the discussion about the four functions of the sentence. Now, to test again your learnings, I have this exercise. For this next exercise, you will be identifying the function of the given sentence. First sentence. What series do you watch? This is what? Yes, interrogative sentence because it's asking a question. Number two sentence. The earth revolves around the sun. This is, yes, a declarative sentence because it simply and directly states a fact. Number three, pass the paper in front. And this is, yes, imperative because it directly tells someone to perform an action. And wow, you pass. Thank you for your cooperation. Alright, that's all for our lecture for today. We talk about what a syntactic structure is, which means the arrangement of words and phrases that make well-formed sentence, and the four sentence structure, such as simple, compound, complex, and compound complex, and the four functions of sentence, which are declarative, interrogative, imperative, and exclamatory. Truly, that knowing how sentences are put together and how they work is super important for clear communication. It helps us understand what others are trying to say and help us express ourselves more effectively. Plus, it's a key for analyzing language and how it's used, which is useful in many areas like literature, writing, or even in everyday life. And I hope this lecture helps you in learning. Thank you and goodbye.